Hi, Matt. Welcome to Guy Set.
Thank you for having me.
I'm thrilled you're on. Can you can see me? Everything's all good now?
Yeah,
Okay.
mine's a little blurry. I wish I had better lighting, but
No, all good. No, we had some trouble with the audio my mic before this, so we're using an older mic, but we're back. We're good. So I want to just tell you how I found your product first, and I want to like talk to you about it because I really really love it. So I found your product. I was scrolling TikTok randomly, and an ad popped up for it. So I want to ask you about that later. But an ad popped up for it, and it had like a popular TikTok sound behind it, and um I it showed your product like in action, like just cleaning all the shavings on your sink. And I was like, I need this because right before that, my roommate and I recorded an episode with him called like Roommate Grievances. And we were talking about like one of my biggest problems with him is that when he shaves, he leaves his shavings all over the sink. There's always like some remnants of something on the sink, and it's so annoying. And I was talking like that was like we were talking about it back and forth, and then I saw your ad, and I was like, well, we need this. And like as a guy, I was like, I need to look into this. Um, so I messaged you because I wanted to make sure it was like legit and a good product and real. And I was like, this is a genius product. I need to have this. And I was like, but before I have you on here, I want to make sure that it's good because I wouldn't want to like tell this audience anything without trying it myself and like really knowing that it's a good product. So you sent me one, and I have it right here. I got it. That's why if you're not watching on YouTube, watch on YouTube. But I have it right here. This is the beard bar. Matt has his as well. But now I'll shut up because I've talked about the reason I found you. But I loved the product, and I'm so happy to have you on. So, and I think it's great. So like I want to hear your story. How did you make it, and why did you make it in the first place?
okay. Yeah, great question. I mean, yeah, so basically, I was in your exact situation. I was living with my cousin at the time, and it was like March 2020, so COVID, and it was the first time in my life I realized some guys like don't clean up their beard trimmings. I'm like, this is gross.
Yeah.
And I was like, kind of like your situation or kind of foreshadowing, but like the girlfriend or the wife in the situation, because most guys don't care and usually the women do. But like 80% of the people that buy my product are women. For like the person that has the
Really
yeah, so that's like a whole kind of spin on who I'm targeting and who I
smart.
learned has the issue. But yeah, I had a 3D printer at the time, and I was really petty, and I could be real with him. So I'm like, I'm gonna make you something because you say you need a visual reminder. You don't see the toilet paper. I'm like, okay, no problem. So I did, and then found some antimicrobial foam, put it together, gave it to some friends. They kind of gave me some feedback, and like I that summer I did some more prototyping and made it better and better, and then I started posting on TikTok. I was already on TikTok in like 2019, and I made my business account, and I posted, and like third video in, I remember it was like a Friday at like 6 p.m. and like I posted it and like got in the shower going like get together or something, and I get out the shower and I had like six orders. I was like, this is crazy. Like complete strangers, first time in
Right.
my life.
Yeah.
I don't come from, business parents. I don't come from, I don't have any mentors in my life. I don't have like investors. It's all just like me, just being curious and trying things. And that happened, and we're on the way to the party, and it turned into like 14 orders. And then like the first hour in, like 9 p.m., I look at my phone again. It's like 32 orders. I'm like, this is nuts. Like this
Oh,
is
holy
crazy.
shit. Yeah.
And then like that night, like it was like 11, 12 p.m. and it was like 200 orders. And mind you, I could only make six a day at the time. So I'm like, I'm
Okay.
screwed, and I can't turn off the like there's like a setting like don't sell anymore if you run out of inventory, and that wasn't clicked. So it just kept going like more into the negative. And then like I get home and there's like you have like four available and you have to fulfill 500. So I was like, yo, this is crazy. And I said, the first thing that came to mind, something that's just like part of my personality, is like speak to everyone publicly. Like, so next morning I did like another TikTok kind of explaining what happened. Then I emailed everyone that bought one individually and said, hey, you can keep your place in line, or I can refund you, but I'm going to take all your guys' money and invest in more equipment and supplies and make them. And everyone said, like, we want to keep our place in line. And I was like, okay, that's really cool. That like says something. So I went ahead and did all that, and then November comes around, I make like a Black Friday video, and I double October's orders, and I'm like, yo, that was
Whoa.
crazy. Yeah, so all of October, mind you, I got like a full-time remote job, so like at 6 p.m. to like 11, I'm like making beard bars, and then just finished that. Then November comes, I do that, and it blows up. Finally get those done like early December, and then I make a stocking stuffer video, and it doubles the Black Friday video. And I'm like, okay, this is getting crazy. So within
Were you
like
putting
3
any
months,
money behind these videos at the time, or no? Or was it just all organic?
what's that?
Was this all organic at the time, or were you putting money behind the videos?
Oh yeah, it's always been organic, and I'll
Whoa.
get to that with
Okay.
the ad because we don't
Yeah.
pay for
Cool.
ad.
Cool. Cool. Okay.
And
Whoa.
then
Keep going.
uh, so that really that like people were ordering it for Christmas, and like we couldn't even ship them out all. We finished making like orders in early January. I'm like, okay, there's no like everyone's broke, everyone's spent all their money. There's no way it's gonna happen, so I can like start making TikToks again.
Right.
And in January, we double December's orders off one TikTok video, and I was like, this is nuts. So
Wait.
I
What are
was
the
like,
numbers at this point?
so it was 500, 1,000, 2,000, then it was 4,000 orders off of TikTok
Holy
video
shit! Wow.
in January. And I'm like, okay, this is like starting to become like comparable income to like a year's worth of salary for me at the time. And I'm like, okay, this
What
is
were you
nuts.
doing
So
at the time?
I was doing finished vehicle logistics. So
Okay.
I come from my degree is in computer engineering, so I'm like a low key nerd, and
Okay.
I like used to make mobile apps. I did like I always had like side project type of personality where I was just kind of making things, and
Cool.
then
Yeah.
yeah, like silly petty idea just like kind of took off, and yeah, at that point I quit. In February, no, in January, we moved back in with my mom because I was like, I pulled all the electricity from our like rental that me and my cousin had, and then in March I got an office of 21, and then that's kind of like nonstop since then. We've sold out like I don't know, like 8 times. And we still make them all, which is, if Mark Cuban was watching or something, probably not a good idea. I should get that outsourced, which we're in the process of that. But like, we still like have manufacturers make like the raw parts, and then we do all assembly, cleaning, quality inspection, packing, and shipping out at our facility in Michigan.
Whoa. So it's all still all you doing that?
Yeah, I've pretty much touched like every single beard bar that has been shipped, and it's like I think like 97,000 at this point beard bars.
Well, congratulations, first of all. That's really insanely impressive. How many years has this been now?
So October 2020 is kind of when I started officially like Shopify and selling it.
Okay.
So 3 years and a month.
Wow. Well, congrats. That's insane. What
Yeah.
I have so many questions about the story you just told because it's a very, very cool story, and it's like it's the dream, right? For anybody that wants to start a product, you've done like the exact dream. I think first and foremost, like the timing was impeccable. Like it was deep in COVID. Like people, this is a problem that like every couple, roommates, like this is a problem that like faces a lot of people. And I was showing a bunch of friends your product. This I have it right here. And I like brought it out, and I had one friend was like, "Oh my god, I saw it on TikTok," and I was like, "I'm having Matt on Guy Set soon." He was like, "That's insane, like really cool." And I was showing them the product, and they were like, "This is such a small, unique problem, but like every either guy has it or girlfriend has it, and it's like it's not thought of yet. Like, how is that not even thought of yet?" So I want to go back to the beginning of like you being petty and making the product. Did your cousin use it, and like what changed immediately? Like what were like the quick changes that your friends who you gave it to wanted to change to it or wanted to make to it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, so starting out, the first prototype we were using, and it was just kind of cumbersome. It was like really, it was a lot wider. So if you imagine it was like this wide, and it just
Oh,
didn't even
huge.
be
Okay.
wide, and it was like taller. It was kind of like a really full grip, and now it's like you can just use a couple fingers. So overall, it definitely got smaller. The grip got a little bit more ergonomic, and um, that was pretty much it. So we just kind of shrunk it down, made like the grip better, and we kind of ran with that. Kind of did an imprint that says Beard Bar on top of it. So just little things like that, and that's what was going on like that summer when I was like testing it out with people.
Cool. And then during the time when you like had all those orders and were still doing a full-time job, how did you manage that?
Oh, honestly, like the money was the motivation. Like I've been doing this like my 18th venture, and none of them were successful enough for me to like do full time. And I seen hope with this, and I was like,
Can
this
you
is what I
talk about your
wanted for
previous
like a
ventures?
decade. And I was like, I'm just gonna deal with it. Like it, so it's almost like energizing by like the customers and like the comments and like just the community I was building was like making me go the extra mile, and it was obviously exhausting, and it's not easy to manage all that, but like during COVID, one, there's not really much to do, and two, like hobbies, whether it was like a little bit of video games with friends or this or that, it was easy for me to like put that away and just be like, this is kind of fun and interesting, and like let's just do it. But yeah, it was very, very exhausting. And although all that was going on, there was still a lot of doubt because it's like this is a cool hobby, but like, is this going to be what I'm doing all the time? Like, I got benefits, I got like 401k. I'm just going to
Right,
leave all
right.
that. Like, so there's like that whole kind of um, like back and forth in my head every day.
What were the other failed ventures?
So there was a lot of apps. Like mentioned, I came from computer engineering, so it was. And these ventures, I call them ventures because they're not full blown LLCs where I'm working full time. Some are just like kind of hobbies.
Like an
There,
entrepreneurial project, right?
yeah. So it's like honestly, that's kind of even advice I have for other people is like if you want to just try things, kind of get your feet wet a little bit. Like I had a t-shirt company. Like who didn't do a t-shirt company? That's like everyone's first
Right,
like
right, right.
company. Ours was at the time I was like vaping, so it was like jewel pocket shirts. So they're like they fit that, and like if you're on the water or something, like it keeps it snug, but you can keep hitting it. And
Got it. Yeah, yeah.
there was also um, in apps like we had some of these ventures were so big that they were a four founder app company where it was full LLC, like equity share and all that for 2 years. And that was like a app where it was just accountability. Every time you want, let's say, go to gym every day. Every day you don't go to the gym, you have to donate to a charity. Or you can do it with a friend where it was like you hold yourself accountable and they'll request you donate to a charity. So we had like 6 charities on board. We worked with like sororities and fraternities because they do a lot of fundraising for that. So we did things with them too. And yeah, like I said, this was by far like way simpler. I compare it to like a post-it note. It's like super simple idea. It didn't exist. I was on Amazon trying to buy one, and I was like, really? No one's like made just like a simple, like just handheld tool to like specifically clean up beard trimmings, and it didn't
Which is
exist.
great for
So
you.
yeah, oh yeah, and I think that's like step zero with anything is like research if it's already out there, because it's gonna be a long uphill battle if you're trying to compete against someone who's like already ahead of you. But yeah,
Yeah,
there's nothing out there.
I want to talk about the competition that arose at one point, but we'll get into that. So remind me if I forget, but I want to keep talking about the other stuff. But like, what was your kind of like support system like around this time where you were like considering leaving the other job and switch into this like full time thing that like like when you're doing something that no one else is doing, it's hard to know that it's gonna work or believe in yourself. So like, I want to hear you talk about that a little bit.
Oh wow. So I guess it's like a two-part. I think it's like the outside world versus like my internal like thoughts.
Yeah.
And me personally, like I'm 32 at this point, and I think I have a pretty like good understanding of like who I am now. In my 20s, I was kind of like, am I this or am I just not that? And I think at this point, I found out that I'm like pretty, I don't know if the right word is disagreeable or stubborn, but like I
Okay.
do trust myself over like other people's opinions, for better or worse. But it's like I have to try, and this was one of those things where it's like I had a lot of experience of like putting in a lot of work and it wasn't working, and like the money hit the bank account, like the money's there, like it's working, so it's like people are giving me good reviews. That was like the last thing of my whole process of like should I quit, was like that the reviews were good and that they loved it. So I'm like, okay, so word of mouth is going to be good, like people want to talk about it, people, it's working for them, and they're putting their money where their mouth is, right? Your friends and family would say, "Oh, that's a good idea. I'll support you." But like, I was very against like telling my friends and family what I was doing, just because like I didn't want the false positives of like saying like, "Oh, we'll support you." I wanted like random people to like it, which is like obviously
Totally.
hard. Like that's what the real world's like. So, um, the amount of help, I think, especially in January, I was kind of testing and calculating like how much I would need to make this and that. It's obviously not all profit. I need to
Right.
put it back in, buy more supplies, everything, rent and labor if I have friends. So internally, I felt very like it's gonna depend on like if people like it, and if people like it, I'm gonna do it. But like I mentioned, I don't come from business parents. Like my mom was very kind of hesitant, you could say, and said
Yeah.
like, "Are you sure you're doing this? Like this, that? Like it's every step of the way." Even when I got my place, like I'm like, "Mom, I'm here every day." She's like, "Well, you can like stay longer." I'm like, "I need to get out. I need like this to be a legit thing." Because at the time, I like there were days when I have like 14 people in my mom's basement, like all packing up beard bars.
That's crazy.
So it was insane, and it was like, I guess, like it's not the journey, it's not the destination, it's the journey. Like in that moment, I was like, I'm not like in the best place, not getting a lot of sleep, but like it was very exciting, and it was as good as you could kind of imagine, like the hectic, like startup life, so to speak. It was totally that. And yeah, so I think overall it was, even to this day, I mean, it's still a mystery, because we keep like kind of, we make profit and we double down and get more supplies, more everything, and then so we kind of go back down to like baseline of having nothing, and so it's been risky like every single month, and like at this point, I think I'm just kind of numb to it. So,
Yeah, no,
I
I mean, I like what you said a lot, and I think it sounds like you had a really amazing support system at that time. And you said like that you didn't want to have that like false positive sense, but there's also the other side of like people just totally doubting you and like thinking that something like this is not gonna work, and you're gonna like lose your job and then start something and like put all this money behind it and then lose that too, and like it's a scary thing. So it's cool to see that you had a really good support system and people were there to help you. And you mentioned that like there's times that you were like not in the best place and like losing sleep and all that stuff. Can you talk about that a little bit more? Like I feel like people, when talking about their ventures and like the things that like this, to me, like this is a product that came within a week that you sent to me, that like it seems to be going really smoothly, and that's amazing. But like the time that it took to get to that position like is crazy, and we don't talk about that a lot, as or I haven't heard a lot of like young entrepreneurs or young startups talk about that really hard part of the job, of like sacrifice of time and like relationships and sleep. Like I want to hear more about that.
Oh, that's honestly probably my favorite question, because it's like it is kind of like the, I don't know how to explain it, but almost like the bad side of things, with the
Yeah,
business is really kind of like the guts of it. It's like, okay, shiny on the outside surface, but underneath, like what did it take? So I'm really happy you asked that, and I'd love to talk more about it. So throughout the whole process, it really was like that. It like, and it's really good that I'm talking about it now, because let's say 10 years down the line, I'm not going to remember what it feels like. So it just
totally.
happened, and it's like still fresh in my mind. And it's, even days like this, like that, I still have doubt, lots of days where it's like, holy cow, things are going wrong. Um, but the initial, like there was very little, I mean, I bought a 3D printer, bought some filament, bought some foam, so like maybe $500, and everything else like was just from customers. And I just like kept doubling down on it. Um, and that caused caused some debt, or I guess instability. You know, I didn't have investors, so it was very it was on my mind 24/7, and like I could kind of like brush over the first 6 months very quickly, as I kind of did. But in those months, like I'm thinking about it 24/7, and those thoughts in my head,
Right.
it's excitement, it's it's imagining the future, how amazing it can be. It's the doubt, it's the, it's the two comments that say we hate it, and it's the, you really hone in on those, and it's like, shoot, like, yeah, 90 people loved it, but these two people don't like it. And it's like,
Right.
what can I do? And it's like, well, how much do I take that on? How much do I say, not everyone's going to be happy. Some people are just, always mad no matter what. Or is it like, do I try and take their advice and fix something? Um, so it was a lot of that. And I think on the daily, I was really, um, present in the moment of the whole situation, and
Hmm.
kind of trying to plan the future. But like, just going back to like what a day would look like is like you're waking up, going to meetings, and you're trying to do your work, and it's just like in the back of your mind, be like, I need to get these orders out. And it's really it's hectic, it's chaotic. It didn't really make a lot of sense. Of There's no direction. There was like, the only plan was like, what's next month? What do I do once all,
Yeah.
and at the time, it's like you're just hours in of just making the beard bars, and it's like you got to figure out, okay, how am I going to come? Where am I going to get? Like, how do shipping labels work? How do I like set this up? How do taxes work?
A lot of learning on the
So
go, right?
it's learning on the go, learning through example, and essentially just kind of trial and error, trying to get to a position where it's like, I didn't remind myself a lot. It's like, once I set something up once, like, okay, the logo, or like the Shopify store, or like my, tax information, like, it's a lot of work, but like once it's done, it's kind of done. So like
Yeah.
once I did a little bit of that, there was into 2021 is where there was a little bit more stability, and that helped out a lot. I'm still in the day to day of everything with my team. They've taken on a lot of it, but I'm still like needed in the office. If they have questions or something goes wrong, then I kind of have to be there. So there's a lot of kind of it's always on my mind. It's not
Yeah.
really. I'm on a beach, and just like looking at my Shopify orders. It's like I'm in it essentially nonstop. So we're not like in the promised land or anything of like we're still doing it. So it's pretty crazy point in time right now. But at this point, we do, like, my mental health is better. My physical, I'm more in shape. I'm getting better sleep. But those early days, I look fondly on now. I don't want to be in that position ever again. But it's now I can kind of joke about it, laugh about it, that it's been pretty intense. It's like, taking that one math class you hated, and then like once you're done with
Right.
it, it's like, I'm glad I learned a little bit of math, but like don't want to do that again.
Totally. Yeah, yeah. And you mentioned like that, and I first of all appreciate you going into that, because like, as I said, it's something that like you don't hear founders talking about. You're like, oh, like they're always like, with that tough year, and now we're here, and like we've gotten to this amazing position. But like, what sacrifices did you have to make to kind of get those orders done and get to where you are now?
Oh yeah, I mean, in terms of free time, I'm like, I would consider myself an introvert. Like, I get more energy when I'm alone. And I had no personal time, like just time for myself. Yeah, friendships were out the like my friends were the ones that, like, the people that I talked to were the ones that were like either at work or like at Matt's Beard Bar with me. There was like, cut the gym out, like I cut free time off. Like, it was, I remember those times I'm like, I'm burning out. Like, I'm
Yeah.
physically, mentally burning out. Like, I'm just laughing at like nothing. Like, I'm getting delirious or something. Like, this is
Yeah, like
getting weird.
not doing well. Right, right, right.
Yeah. Just like, I'm just like, and it's like, though, and on top of it, like, you're in charge of all the directions. This is like the first
Right.
time in my life where it's like your boss isn't telling you what to do, your teacher isn't telling you how to do this problem. Like, you have to figure it out. So
You're
there's a
all on
lot
your
of
own.
like, yeah, Google, YouTube, books, trying to figure it out. But it was I was really like deep in the deep end of like just everything is unknown and figure it out, you know? So
Yeah,
it
was
was
there a time that like was the pivot point between you being like, all right, like I gotta get my shit together, I gotta go back to the gym, I gotta get my mental health back in order? From like, was there like a switch, or was there a moment that you were like, all right, I can't keep going like this, I have to fix something?
yeah, so in January I had like I think it was like late November. I booked a trip to Texas for January because I was like obviously I'm gonna be have a little bit more free time and I need it. It was
Yeah,
basically 100 days of just nonstop like
work.
16, 18 hour days, and I was like I need to take a break. So that happened, and yeah, when I came back it was like it doubling the December's TikTok. So I was like, oh no, like there's so it was back to the um like grind of like
Back to the grind, right?
yeah, because it's like almost like on the daily you can handle this many orders because you set your kind of like equipment up to like be able to do this much per day, and then you just realize you have to double, so you have to buy double everything, and that happened throughout 2021. And I remember that year I got really good at kind of like not stressing about it, just because it's like
Yeah.
I don't know, like the stress like just like it broke, it snapped, and I was just like, well, this is the situation. It was July of that year, and I think to this day it's our still most viral video. It did 17 million, all organic, like kind of like before everyone was in on TikTok.
Yeah,
And
whoa.
I was like, it was kind of like a flex. If I turned my like vibrate off, it would be like cha-ching, 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 and like you could go through orders and
Sick.
like you'd be scrolling and like it that'd just be the last hour. And I remember that day I just went like we already had plans to go like canoeing like on a lake just for the day. And like the whole time it's just going off, I'm like I'll deal with it when I come back to the office.
Yeah.
I think that day um, was like over 10,000 orders in like 24 hours.
Oh my
And then
God.
it kept trickling over the next few days. But yeah, that was like, that was surreal. And
That's
at
insane.
that
Yeah.
point, I realized you can't predict like what's going to be the limit because eventually you can be like, I can make this many per week and like that's going to hold us through. And it's been broken so many times where it's just like keeps expanding. And so like now I'm just like, well, we need to like figure it out. And so there's a whole thing of now I'm kind of going a little bit of tangent, but we'll bring it back. But
Go ahead. Yeah.
the kind of weekly, which I would call like operations, like every week it's kind of the same thing, making orders, this and that. And then there's like the future or development, which is for the future. How are we going to upgrade what we currently have? So I've been in the operation side of things for so long that I don't really, just because when you get these orders out nonstop, even like right now we're like behind and it's not even Black Friday yet. It feels like people are already Christmas shopping like it is Black Friday or December.
Yeah. Right.
And I need time to like upgrade our stuff. So it's like that's always been getting delayed. So after this season, like I already have some good plans with some manufacturers and things like that where it will be offloaded and redesigned, and then I'll be able to focus on marketing, speaking with customers, doing all this type of thing where it's like we're not overwhelmed with like the daily thing of
Yeah.
running a business, I guess.
No, it's a cool thing you said, because there is like a compartmentalization between the everyday and then like the future. And a lot of these types of things, when you're thinking about it, you don't think about the future. You're like, what can I do now to fix the now? What can I do now to like work on the now? And it sounds like you're at a much better place, and it's just very cool to hear that journey. So thank you for sharing all of that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, it's I wouldn't consider myself like really high, in the best place, but we are getting there. Like the future looks
In a
bright.
better
It's
place. In a
like
better
the
place.
trajectory is like pointing up, so that's cool. I always compare it to like, we're on a ship and we're going like in, and like I'm the captain, so I need to be on my telescope looking which way we need to go. But there's
Right.
a lot of times where I get down under and like I'm rowing too, and I'm like, well, who's watching it? I need to be watching it. So like, come on, guys. What do we need?
How
Hire
do
more
people how do
people?
people are under you now?
We have like about 8 full time, and then there's like another like 8 to 12 people that like I'm like, hey, can you help us this week, type of thing. And like a lot of it's friends and family.
Got it. How have you found being a boss of these people?
Like what are my feelings about it?
Yeah, like do you like being the CEO and running the place, or is that not like like what? Yeah, what do you think about it?
I I I definitely love choosing the people that work for me because there's been many corporate jobs. I come from the corporate world where I just hate it, and that hate's a strong word, but like really dislike some of these people. I'm just like, I would never, I wouldn't get a beer with you. I don't want to talk
Yeah,
to you, like nothing. So everyone that works for me is like kind of my style, like let's go do it, like quit complaining type of personality, like
yeah,
and like job needs to get done. Like it's not like the easiest job in the world, you know. So and we all kind of like we have a good vibe together. Obviously, things come up and whatnot, but
it's cool.
I do like that side of it, like picking the people. I would love to be more on development side. I don't really care for the day to day grind of it, but like I like being there. I like being with my team and whatnot, and we like to like do like little happy hours, this and that. Sometimes like it's just like, wow, we haven't done anything like in a year, because then it's like it's already been a year since like our last outing. Um,
Yeah,
but it like I mean, specifically the people that work for me are like super sweet, and they care for me, and like they care for like, hey, this needs to get done, and it's at a point now where a lot of times they'll bring things to my attention, or I'll ask them, be like, hey, how do we do this, you know, because they're doing it every day. So that's really
they care
cool
for
to
the growth.
see.
They care for like the growth of the company. It's cool.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
important.
So
Yeah,
I definitely want to like honor that, and I think I do, whether it's like end of year bonuses or like eventually, like don't want to say too many things, but if we get to a point where I'd love to like share equity if it comes down to that in the future. But it's yeah, it's one of those things that we have to think about in the future when it comes time to that. But
yeah,
yeah, they really do deserve it, and I want to honor that because it's something that um I don't know. Like it really pays off, I think, to be a good person. Like this is a
100%.
funny thing. I was thinking about this the other day. Like I like even if you, like there's some person out there that's like naturally asshole, it's in their best benefit. Like life is easier running a company when you're nice. You know, like
Totally.
I'm not doing it like I like to think I am a nice person. They say like they love working for me, or they call me like the G boat, like greatest boss of all time. But like it makes everything easier, like if people are in a good mood and stuff. So it's like, but also I just naturally do like working with them too.
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned equity. How much of the company do you own?
100%.
Cool. Very
Yeah,
cool. Yeah, that's
yeah.
awesome.
So
So
there's no splits, anything, no investors, no mentors, no partners. It's all me. Um, and in the future, we'll see how that goes. I love to keep 100% just for the future. If the things do come up, I have all of it. It's not like I need to speak to like my partners, like, hey, can we give them some equity? So it's like all my
yeah, it's all
choices,
up to
and
you. It's
I do
cool.
like that. I definitely like making all the like kind of like the final choice. I love to listen to everyone, take all the information, and then say, hey, we're going this direction.
That's great. Yeah, no, and also we've gotten like 30 minutes into it. How do we use it? Talk to the people about how do you use this product, by the way.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's pretty simple, but the with this, so what we're holding right now is the version 2. So with the version 2, there's actually one extra step that you have to use. You have to wet it beforehand, because the foam is very hard
I
when
learned
it's
that the
dry.
hard way, by the way.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't wet it
Um,
and I was like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this? Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
totally.
Yeah, there's like a little instruction manual of like how to use and how to clean it. But essentially, what you do is after you're done trimming, you're looking around at your dirty sink. You wet it with warm water, and it softens up. You kind of rinse it out so there's not excess water, and you just sweep around. It's got these little grooves that pick up more and more hair. And once you're done, run it under a sink. Or if you are scared about beard trimmings, which I had to learn a lot about, and talk to like civil engineers that do plumbing and plumbers and whatnot, we have a holder which has grooves on the inside specifically that you can fill up with water, and it's meant to get into the grooves of this. So as you're cleaning it, it's getting rid of all the hairs on here, and then you have your dirty hair water in a cup, the Matt's beer bar holder, and you dump that down the toilet, and then you just put it back, put your cat back on, and it's ready for next use. You like
Huh.
to you should let it dry out because it is it's bacteria resistant and mildew resistant if it's dry. So whatever bacteria was on there, it dries out, and then the bacteria can't grow anymore, and it just dies off until next use. So you don't want to with version 2, you don't want to keep it sealed in like a damp area. You want to let it
Got
dry
it.
out. And with version 1, very similar. It's just not flexible and different foam. It
I
doesn't
was gonna say I
need
was
to
gonna
be.
mention the flexible thing, like the fact that it can go around the corners of the sink and like really that was one of the coolest parts about the product to me.
Yeah, and we didn't have that with version 1. So like going back to like all the criticism of people that they didn't like, I try to sift out like just people that are just like hating their lives and they just want to project negativity, and people that
Totally.
actually have like good type of like feedback. And so one of them was we added a denser foam so the hairs don't stick into it as much. And it's flexible now, which made it a lot harder to make, but we got there. And those were like two major pieces of feedback that we got, and we just rolled that right into version 2. And then we do a version 3, it'll kind of be the same thing where I just kind of listen to the community and give them what they want.
It's cool. If the hairs get like stuck in it, what do you do?
So there's multiple ways. So I would recommend if it's like you already rinsed it out, you can try it like rinse it out, dump it out, and do it one more time to get even more hairs out. If that doesn't work, you can always add hand soap, whether it's like a foaming one or like a gel one, and it will go in there. And I would like lather it, so like you just put some on and you lather it in there, and then when you run it underwater, you kind of rub it and it'll bubble up, and the foam will kind of push more beard hairs out too.
Cool. Yeah,
And
it's great. I loved the I used it the first time and I was like, all right, like done. I gotta have you on. Like this is sick. It was very, very helpful. I think the current solutions right now for doing this outside of the bar are literally like using your hands cupping water and like throwing it at the sides of the sink, or using like or wasting like a ton of like toilet paper and paper towels and stuff. And like those are the only really other options.
yeah,
Speaking of
there's
other
one.
go ahead.
I can interject. There's that beard bib
Please.
where you kind of, I don't know where it came from, but it's
I saw it on
basically like
Shark
a
Tank.
beard
Yeah.
apron, and you kind of like attach yourself to the mirror like a little baby or something. And I was like, there's no way
Right.
my cousin. If you can't see toilet paper, I guess toilet paper is another option. But if they don't see toilet paper, there's no way they're gonna remember to go under a sink and do that. So I need something like super simple, like typical like lazy man, type thing, like for them. So
That's
it's meant
that's
to be like super simple.
no, it's totally right. I saw the beard bib on Shark Tank, and I was like, "There's no way anybody would ever use that." Like, it's like you like hook yourself up to the mirror, and like that's not for me. But like this is, it's a quick, easy thing that like I thought would work really well, and I'm happy it has. But speaking of like other products and ways, can you talk about the knockoffs and competition that arose after your product launched and after it became kind of successful?
Oh, of course, yeah. So, it's funny. Like my patent lawyer reached out to me. It's like, well, that's like achievement that everyone goes through. It's like once you have a good product, like the knockoffs are gonna come. So I was like, cool, but it still sucks. Like I
Right.
paid for a patent. I got trademarks and copyrights for a reason. Like, why are you people stealing my original idea? And at this point, there's been so many knockoffs that we'd have to take down from Shopify, from Amazon, Etsy, everything. And then it's really frustrating because they'll like just I'll take the time to make my website and they'll like copy my like even my like about Matt page and like
That's
make
so
their version of
annoying.
it. And I'm like, you're completely like my product descriptions, like everything, and
Ripping off
they'll try to
everything.
get their own way of it. So we take them down as much as we can. Sometimes they give us more issues than that, but in the end, it's what I learned at this point is kind of yeah, and listening to other previous entrepreneurs before me, they always said focus on yourself, don't get too distracted on um, competition because like branding is like very important and they're going to follow you because it's you and they're connected with you and they don't want to kind of reach out
Yeah,
to something that they're not sure if that brand works. It's a new product off, like is it going to work? Is it good? I don't know. um, their reviews are always honestly kind of worse, and that's one way you can kind of tell. but it's to each their own. At the end of the day, like if you're not infringing on my design, my usability of a product, like go for it. This world's big enough for both of us. And even with beard bibs, or like people would say, yeah, toilet paper. I'm like, our goal, which is still, I think, like ever since we started, it was like our mission is to clean up every sink. It's not for every sink to have a beard bar. I just think
Right.
it's the best option, you know? So I
Yeah.
made something that I was happy with, and I'm like a picky guy, so I like made the best thing. And or at least I like to think so, right? And then so if people want to use beard bibs, if people want to use toilet paper, no problem, but don't infringe on our intellectual property, because we'll use all legal power we can to, you know, like to the fullest extent. So so it's we've been like pretty good. I think we've had 20 knockoffs, and I'm like got that chip on my shoulder where it's like I'll screenshot everything. So at this point, my folder of copycats is like pretty big,
Got
and
it.
I'm happy to say like we take almost all of them down pretty quickly.
That's great. Yeah. Can you talk about the patent and trademark process and like what that
Mhm.
cost? Is that okay to talk about?
Yeah, of course.
Cool.
So there's so patent is the most detailed and the most work. Trademark is just for anyone in your audience that doesn't know. It's usually for something that makes your brand recognizable. So your name plus like the font and like your logo. That's like your trademark.
I
Copyright is
trademarked
usually
I trademarked Guy Set. That's so I know about trademarking, but
yeah.
I don't know about patenting at all. So that's I'm super
Mhm.
interested to hear about it.
Yeah, so we'll get to pan. Copyright is mainly just like description, like product descriptions, or like my about me page would be copyright.
Got it.
But that's kind of like the meat and potatoes is like the patent, right? So a utility patent and a design patent. Those are like kind of the new main types. It's something that like you can like patent a design of a product, or I guess it would be just products. And then a utility patent is like the utility of how it's used. So I went with version one. I did a design patent because during the process you don't know if you're going to get accepted. So you have to pay up front and you have to
What does that
submit it.
cost?
So anywhere between and it ranges. So for me specifically, like a simple product like this, like 2 to 10,000. I think mine was about like 4,000. And there's
Got
like
it.
cheaper ways to do it. Like you can either do it yourself, you can pay like a lawyer fee plus the fees for that you need to send to the USPTO, US
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
and Trademark Office. So all in all, I just know the overall number. I wanted professional help because I didn't want to wait 2 years and then them come back and be like, well, you did this wrong,
Right.
like declined. So I'm like, I'd rather pay up front, get it done properly, and along the way get advice about like what should I think about, what should I like consider, what advice, what things do I not know that you can tell me. So I had an original patent lawyer, and he was okay. He did what I asked him to, but he never was like, well, this is a better way of doing it, or like you should think about doing this because your end goal is this, right? And
Right.
so he just kind of, I don't know, I felt like dropped the ball. And then I went to my friend who is also my accountant. His firm works with another patent firm, and I went with them, and he's very like proactive and looks out for me. He's like, just tell me what's your end goal, and then like I'll give you all the options, and then we can kind of go from there. So that's
Cool.
been really cool too.
Yeah, I felt the same way about trademarking. I was like, I know I could probably do this on my own, but I just don't want to do it wrong and get like declined and mess up, and like it just felt like the better avenue to take the legal way, because that's like you don't want to mess with that stuff. Like there's no reason to.
That's what I'm saying. And I mean, like, looking back, like, it was not that much money in terms of, like, what could have went wrong if I did it wrong. Like, it was actually the cheaper option is to do it right. But if, everyone's got different things. Some people have endless time and, like, no money. You can go ahead, learn it all, do it yourself. But
Right,
I was
totally.
like, I got the money coming in, I got customers, like, I got demand, like, I just don't have time. So it's like, you got to see which boat you're in.
Yeah, so switching gears a bit, you talked about marketing and you don't pay for any marketing promo on TikTok. Like what do you do beside TikTok, or is that your main revenue source? Or yeah, go into that a little bit.
So obviously social media, that's like been to this day our biggest driver. And almost our only driver. I worked with an ad agency, which honestly was like a failure. Like they pretty much sucked, just to kind of be blunt.
Yeah.
But they would charge me like I think $1,000 a month and charge me for the ads that they were running, and like I was getting no like sales from it. I'm like, this is pointless, and I was in a contract, and I had to breach it early. But yeah, social media is our biggest thing. It's
Cool.
me. I edit, I talk, I make the scripts, if you want to call them that. Sometimes it's just on a whim making TikToks, and it's been organically, like it's hard to do now because the algorithm has changed so much that it's
Yeah.
like all TikTok shop right now. And we could have this conversation 3 months and it's gonna be something else. And like 3 months before this, and like there was multiple changes throughout. So I got in early where there was like little people creating, but there was already a lot of people watching TikToks. But now
Right.
everyone's creating and like everyone's on it, so it's like so saturated. And they obviously like we don't know for sure, but it's always changing. But they obviously boost certain things.
Yeah.
But if something starts getting traction and people like it, it's going to go more and more viral. And I study that a lot too. Obviously, there was times where it's like we made a buttload, and then I'm okay. Hang on, why are these TikToks failing? So I always try to keep an eye on what worked. And if, for me and my product, the most important thing is to show it being used. Because it's almost
Totally.
universal. You don't really even need to say anything. You just see something picking up beard. People understand what beard trimmings are. People understand it's annoying, and this is I'm showing it cleaning, and then wiping off the beard bars, and that showing it in use is super important for our marketing. Because we even worry about like if you just seen this on a store front with just a just the packaging, you might not even really understand it unless you've seen it somewhere being used.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
For us, social media and videos, and then I usually do like a voiceover or a trending sound or something. But yeah, we don't. I mean, I've probably posted like 2 TikToks in like the last like 5 months, just because like there's so much word of mouth. I think at this point that we don't even need it. And then TikTok Shop came around, and they were boosting those videos and
Oh, so you're
organic.
being boosted by them. You're not even paying for that.
No, no. So there, and it gets even better. It gets crazier too. So one, once if your video had a tag of like you added a product, it was boosted, and then on top of that, I authorized TikTok. It was like TikTok. Do you allow TikTok to use your videos as ads? And then I like read the fine print. I'm like, am I getting charged for this or what? They're like, no, they're covering all the cost. And then I was like,
Whoa.
okay. Yeah, so now my videos are being shown up as ads, and I'm not paying for those either. TikTok is, and I did the math. If I were to, because I don't know if you ever ran ads, but it's like for $10 you reach this many people. For 20 you reach this many. Blah blah blah. So I seen how much reach I got, like million, like tens of millions of views, maybe 100 million views. I'm not sure. I haven't checked in a while, but I did the math to like reverse how much it would cost me, and it was like what like I think at this point like over 200K that they like
Holy
did.
shit.
Yeah,
Well,
so
that's
it's
that's
like
insane. So congrats for the algorithm in that sense. That's insane for you. Well, that's
I
how.
love TikTok. Like I got my own manager and everything, and it's surreal. And like now the landscape is like forever changing, and TikTok was such a big like we haven't seen a social media like this like enter the realm like since a while, but like yeah, it
Yeah.
it really was like I'm looking at all this and I'm like a lot of people don't really talk about it just because there's no incentive for them to talk about it. Like why spill the beans on like what's working for me just so like for example, if my copycats are watching and they try to do this too, they'll like it's detrimental to me. Like so I
Right.
understand now like in my position, I understand why people don't give all the secrets out
Yeah.
because it would help 99% of people, but it doesn't matter if like that 1% uses against you. So it's a weird mind trick that like I kind of understand now, but a lot of the stuff I'm saying now is already outdated, so I'm comfortable
Totally.
talking about it.
Yeah, well, so what recommendations do you have for somebody that's maybe in their 20s, early 30s that is interested in either starting their own thing or kind of taking the jump or leap from one company to the next? Like what's your advice?
Oh wow. I mean, I could. I get. I'm not trying to be arrogant or something, but like my friends ask me a lot, right? So it's like
I'm sure they do, right? No, it's not an arrogant thing. It's like a success thing, right?
yeah, and I kind of break it down into like kind of stages, like where you're at, because I would give different advice to people that have already founded a company, this and that, or if someone has, have you even tried like different things, or have you just always had a like corporate job or 9 to 5, so to speak?
Take that
Uh,
person for me. Like for this audience, take that person.
the 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Okay. So first thing, I could set up like a little path right here. So don't quit your job first of all, unless like I held on for a very long time before I quit. To I literally had no more time left. I was like, all right, now I need to make a choice. So don't lose your job, something stable, for something that's very unstable.
Yeah,
Kind of go
totally.
against the grain, I think. So that's kind of step one. And step two is with your free time. This is the part where you have to like set aside time. Everyone kind of, wants to do hobbies and stuff, but make it, don't overwhelm yourself. And I would say make it a little project, something, I don't know, like whether you like painting, like take some time to paint, or create something if you're a fiddler, like, or you're artist, or you like to make things, like do, you should have the mindset of it just being a project with like no expectations of it uh selling and it being your full-time job. It's a success if you learn something and you kind of created something. So like even if you're not making money on it, like it's still a success. Like not trying doing anything is a failure. So to sum it up, like try a lot of things and get little skills. So like this wasn't my first Shopify store. So like once this started blowing up, I could whip out a Shopify because of previous things I've tried.
Yeah.
So I tried like 6 different things. Like I've worked with suppliers before, so it was very easy for me to. So I had like 5 different skills from past ventures that all failed. But with something that had demand and people liked the idea, I took all the skills from my previous things and was like, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. I can take off. Otherwise, you'd be stuck in it. So try
Right.
different things, and you almost have to have faith that later on in life, those skills that you learned will come back and help you. And do like at least 10 things, I've had a podcast before, only 7 episodes, but like I tried it, and like multiple different things, and eventually all start stacking on top of each other. There's actually I give more in-depth advice on this page, Matt's Deeper Cuts. It's very small, almost private, like
That's a cute name, yeah.
but I talk about it. One of them is hook your future self up, and it's, even if you're feeling bad today, I think that if you're having a bad day, go to the gym. If you're having a good day, go to the gym. So it's like no matter what, I'm gonna feel sad. I'm still gonna better myself, or better hook up my future self, right? So I think it's a
Totally.
lot of that. Try doing different things, and watch out for things that aren't beneficial. I mean, I love video games as a relaxation thing, but it's not a hobby, and I don't plan on making money on it, so I had to limit it. Or going out to the bars or like restaurants, this and that. I'm like, it's fun, and like I understand the relaxation part of it, which I still do. I take time out of my week to do things like that, but limit the things that aren't really benefiting you and start learning skills. And whether that's through a hobby, through reading a book, and if you are doing that, reading stuff, like taking information in, apply it, take action on it. Because I have a lot of friends that are like big YouTuber guys sending me YouTube video. I'm like, well, what'd you do with it? Nothing. So taking a lot of action, going back to trying things, like you have to take action, and you'll learn more from your experiences than because your emotions are tied to your experiences. Reading a book, your emotions are tied to another person's, whoever I'm talking to. Like my experiences, like I have emotions tied to them, they don't. So it's like they have to create their own experiences, their own, sad days, or trials and tribulations, or
Right.
successes that they can learn for themselves. And it's part of the, kind of figuring yourself out too. It's, some people like sales, some people don't. You don't have to, so figure yourself out, and do that through trying things and taking action. So very
That's
long-winded.
really
Yeah, hopefully that helps.
Yeah, no, it's strong advice. I like my favorite thing you said was when you're not feeling well, go to the gym. When you are feeling well, go to the gym. I really like that. I think it's just like good advice for anybody. Um, we also haven't talked about this, but can we do a giveaway of a beard bar to the audience?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
So
we can do. Yeah,
if yeah, for anybody listening, comment your favorite part of this episode on my Instagram post that I will post. Comment your favorite part of this episode, and Matt and I will choose one or two people, whatever you want to do, to get a beard bar, and we'll send it to you. So yeah, that'd be awesome.
perfect timing, right for Christmas.
Exactly. Yeah, and
Whatever holiday you celebrate.
any of course, any holiday. But yeah, for sure. This was a great episode. I loved getting into like the weeds of the entrepreneurial journey with you and hearing your story and the process behind this thing. Like as I said earlier, it's really cool to see this now, like in my hands from something that you thought of out of now that I know out of pity for or an annoyance for your cousin, and like it's just cool to see that it's becoming something really big, and it's awesome.
Yeah, well, I appreciate everything. I appreciate the kind words. I appreciate the time, you reaching out and doing this with me, and I had a really good time on here. And I gotta say, I think I think I've done like 4 or 5 podcasts now, and I think you give really good questions and like good insight. And I appreciate the time you took to kind of like listen into the like in-depth pieces of it all.
Thanks. That's really nice advice. That's really nice to hear. So that's always the hope at when I do these. So that's great to hear. Thanks for saying that.
Of course.
Yeah. And we'll be in touch.